Support for WUWM podcasts comes from University School of Milwaukee, fulfilling a values-based mission of developing learners, fostering leaders, and preparing citizens for pre-kindergarten through 12th grade. More information at usm.org/mission.
From 89.7 WUWM Milwaukee's NPR, this is Lake Effect. I'm Audrey Nowakowski. Today, we'll tell you about the racial achievement gap in Wisconsin schools and what's being done to try and solve it. Then we'll speak with the director of Winter Hymns, a Wisconsin-made film about a day in the life of a palliative care doctor.
It's just clearly resonating. Hopefully it's what I've done, hopefully it's clearly what the actors have done, but also it's just the topic. This movie really tries to be a naked look at death.
Plus, we'll look ahead to the first weekend of Summerfest and talk about what makes it one of Milwaukee's most iconic festivals.
I always have to get the Saz's sampler platter. Nothing goes better with music than a nice drink with some mozzarella sticks,
right.
Eggplant fries, onion ring. And the smell is it's real nostalgic.
All that's coming up on Lake Effect. This is Lake Effect from 89.7 WUWM Milwaukee's NPR. I'm Audrey Nowakowski. Thanks for joining us today. In the last few decades, the gap between how white and black students perform on tests has been narrowing on the national level. But in Milwaukee, 2024 data shows that we had the largest racial achievement gap in the country. That year, black fourth graders in Wisconsin scored 45 points lower than their white peers on national reading assessments. The gap was 39 points for eighth grade readers. A listener wrote into our Beats Me series to ask, is there political will to fix that gap? WUWM education reporter Catherine Kokel spoke with half a dozen education leaders and teachers about that question. Today, we're bringing you one of those conversations with Dr. Brenda Caselius, the superintendent of Milwaukee Public Schools.
We will start by posing the question that the listener asked WUWM to you. The listener asked us, Milwaukee has had the largest achievement gap between black and white students in the United States. Is there a political will to fix this issue? Where do you see political will in Milwaukee?
I've been in Milwaukee now for about a year and a half, and there's been a tremendous outpouring of support for tackling the underachievement in Milwaukee Public Schools. So I absolutely believe there's a political will. I've seen it both in our civic leaders, the mayor and the city council, as well as our philanthropic community who stepped up and provided an opportunity with some impact funding to be able to start on the governor's operational audit. I've seen it at the state level with the governor issuing an operational audit and an academic audit, which has given us a roadmap. And I've seen it within our teachers and our principals wanting to make a difference and just hungry for us to have coherence and be able to drive this system forward. And I've also seen it at the school board level, who has supported me in making transformational changes in order to bring our district into good standing financially, as well as to support an academic agenda around literacy. So I'm more of an optimist about the political will that we are pulling together here with an all hands on deck across civic, across the state, and philanthropic and at our board level with our teachers and our principals as well.
Thank you. I want to take a step back for a second to talk about why this achievement gap between black and white students exists. For this story, I interviewed several people from classroom teachers, book authors, school board directors, and education advocacy organization leaders. Although they represented very different points on the political spectrum, many of them pointed to poverty in Milwaukee as the root cause of this achievement gap. What do you make of that?
Well, I absolutely believe poverty makes it more challenging for children to achieve, particularly if they're unable to access early childhood opportunities. If a mother has been unable to access prenatal care and early parenting supports, that have provided her support, that's where poverty can absolutely set a child up for getting behind. So I think that matters. But we have seen an example over example where Black children, children who are poor, children who have language barriers, children who have disabilities achieve at incredible levels when provided the right opportunity, the right scaffolding, and the adults creating the conditions in which they should succeed. And so I don't use poverty as an excuse. I myself grew up to a single mother on welfare, and look where I've achieved. And I am in this business and have chosen this vocation exactly because I saw firsthand how programming and braiding and weaving together support systems from government, from civic community, from local park and rec board and other opportunities, and just having a great teacher in your classroom, and how that can inspire a child and provide the right kind of support. Whether it's support for your health and your nutrition, or whether it's support for after school care and activities, or having a great teacher in a classroom who inspires you to do your best and provide you with the right kind of support to be able to achieve. So I don't make any excuses. I think it can be done. I've seen it done. I've seen it both personally and in my own professional experience. I've seen it done. And I see school systems and schools in particular who have done it well and who have beaten the odds against all odds when children have lacked opportunity early in their school career.
Thank you. You talked about some of the general examples of programs that can work to help close this gap. Do you have any specific examples of what's being done in Milwaukee Public Schools right now to do that?
Well, Milwaukee Public Schools has 3-year-old programs and 4-year-old programs to which they're not fully refunded. So that gives children a good start. They do Child Find, which makes sure that children with early onset of disability, we're able to do and find those children and provide support with their pediatricians and with our school-based teams. So that's a really critical early piece. They used to have Head Start, and Head Start is a great wraparound program to provide also parenting and support training. We hope to get that program back into the schools. We don't have it right now. They have a strong recreation program, park and recreation program that offers all kinds of supports to families and community and brings the community into our schools. And then, when we get to the basics, of what we do here in Milwaukee Public Schools on the academic side of the house, it's making sure that we have great principals, great teachers, strong curriculum, that we are providing for an academic demand and rigor within our course of study for students, particularly at the middle and high school ages, career pathway work for our high school students, launching them off into post-secondary school, giving them the hope for their future, setting them up with making sure that they have their interests and support systems around art, music, PE. Many thanks to our Milwaukee residents for their capacity and supporting our schools with the referendum to be able to do those things. So a number of things that our teams do to provide wraparound services, to provide direct academics, and then to engage the community in children's learning, whether it's tutoring, whether it's, in-kind supports of coming in and supporting families when they're in crisis or when they need additional financial or support for like clothing or some of their other basic needs, housing, et cetera. Those types of things can sometimes mitigate the challenges around poverty and help set children up to be successful.
Dr. Brenda Caselius is the superintendent of Milwaukee Public Schools, and we're talking about the achievement gap between white and black students. So MPS has several targeted programs to support students. We were just talking especially about some of the early childhood education programs, but I'm also thinking about on the older end, there is the Black and Latino Male Achievement Program. How does that impact a child or a teenager's test score? I mean, these achievement gaps are literally measured by test scores on the National Assessment for Educational Progress. So how do these kind of social and emotional support systems impact the score that a child gets on a test?
So my background in my undergraduate studies was child psychology and psychology. And I don't think we talk enough about the impact of test scores and a child's psychology around their own self-esteem and self-efficacy in their learning. And then also the bias, having been former commissioner in education and setting the standards and doing all of the work around building assessments, I know firsthand that assessments are very difficult and that they are very difficult in the way in which the questions are asked, the critical thinking that is demanded of a student when they are answering these questions. Oftentimes adults will take these assessments and fail themselves because they are just incredibly challenging to do. So I think, one, we have to look at assessments very critically in terms of the bias that they have and their accuracy statistically in terms of what any individual student might be scoring. I think we use them to make more generalized assumptions about students' learning generally in the overall implications of whether students in a large cohort are making or not making grade level standards. But when they're used to predict individual students or used for high stakes, that's more inappropriate in terms of these assessments. And I don't think that most people know that. And so that's where the challenge comes in, because when you're trying to move the Black-white student achievement gap, you need to be looking individual by individual, school by school. It has to be that precise. And test scores aren't necessarily and often aren't the best measure of that performance. What's a better measure of that performance is actually that student's work on course assessments that are given by the teacher to really gauge whether they're making progress toward grade level standards, rather than the once a year forward test, for instance, that's given to all students across the state, which is much more of an aggregate type of measure, or even a more difficult measure and even further removed from the individual, the National Assessment of Educational Progress, which only samples some students and not all students within a district. And I don't think that the general public understands that as well.
I want to go back real quick to the Black and Latino Male Achievement Program, because it's one of several that the district is actually restructuring into an equity department. 34 positions will become 8 after these budget cuts. What do you make of your commitment to serving these students while also restructuring into a centralized equity department?
So we have probably the largest Black-white student gap, across the nation. I know certainly our students are scoring, particularly our Black students are scoring in the 0 percentile. So that strategy was not working for us. They would get into a handful of schools. We have 139 schools. We need them in every single school. So we moved to a district-wide team, a leadership team that then would drive support systems and strategies and build capacity at the school level. Just like I said earlier, you have to be at the individual student level, the individual school level in order to move the achievement gap. You can't just be in some schools to move the whole district. You need to be in all of them. And so we're creating school-based teams. So we're actually increasing the capacity to be a more system-wide approach rather than just an approach that is only getting, some kids and not all kids.
I wanted to talk to you specifically about this, not because these achievement gaps are just all laid at the feet of public schools in Milwaukee. We have almost as many students being educated out of public schools as we do in public schools in our city. So even these metrics referencing Milwaukee as a whole are happening in addition to MPS-specific reports. I bring up that finding because 22 of the 50 lowest performing schools are on the north side of Milwaukee. Not all of those are public schools. 17 of them are public schools. But I want to share a quote from a conversation I had with Celestin Morgan of the Pro-Choice and Charter City Forward Collective. He said that metric of low-performing schools means that, quote, we cannot solve these challenges just by looking to Milwaukee public schools. And we can't solve these challenges without Milwaukee public schools. How do you respond to that?
I think it's a great reflection of the reality on the ground. Milwaukee and the state of Wisconsin has chosen to engage in a choice system for families. And unfortunately, that hasn't panned out the way that I think that they had hoped it would, which is like an incredible amount of higher achievement for Black children or poor children or children who are not yet mastering the English language, or children even with disabilities. And what we see is, I think it has created more instability for families and children who move from one system to the other system back and forth. I think it also has diffused the revenue landscape to be able to concentrate services within one type of system. And I think that it has also provided for different types of opportunities for children and created greater disparity among the different types of schools. There just needs to be a much more coordinated effort around the children of Milwaukee, regardless of what type of system you go to now, since the city has chosen it, to ensure that there is a compelling political will, that there is, instructional materials in all of our schools, that teachers are in our classrooms and they are permanently licensed, and that we are focusing on holding families accountable for sending their children to school so that their attendance is 95% or better, which is a huge problem to achievement. We can't educate children who aren't there. And then as a city, wrapping ourselves around all of our nonprofit community, our philanthropic community, our civic community, to ensure that time out of school is well spent, safe, and engaging for children.
Dr. Brenda Cassellius, Superintendent of Milwaukee Public Schools, thanks so much for speaking with me about this today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Dr. Brenda Cassellius is the superintendent of Milwaukee Public Schools. She spoke with education reporter Catherine Kokel for our series Beats Me. You can find more on the opportunity gap between white and Black students in Milwaukee at WUWM.com. And remember, you can find Lake Effect as a podcast. Find it wherever you get your podcasts so you can listen when you like. Still to come, we'll look ahead to the first weekend of Summerfest. Our friends at Radio Milwaukee will share what they're excited for in the lineup in about 15 minutes. But first, we'll speak with the filmmaker of Winter Hymns, a Wisconsin-made film about a day in the life of a palliative care doctor. That's coming up next on Lake Effect on Milwaukee's NPR. You're listening to Lake Effect on 89.7 WUWM. I'm Audrey Nowakowski. A new Wisconsin-made film called Winter Hymns is set over the course of a day in a single hospital room. The room is where Dr. Linda Vobernick, a palliative care doctor, meets with her dying patients and their families as they navigate end-of-life care.
I want to frame this situation another way. I think sometimes we forget that our children are always learning from us. When they were young, you taught them how to walk and how to say thank you. When they got older, how to be adults, how to function in the world. And right now, you're teaching them how to die.
Dr. Vobernick, speaking in that clip, is played by American Players Theater core company member Colleen Madden. She's fighting for compassion in a system built for efficiency and other priorities, all while guiding people through their care that doesn't cure. Winter Hymns was written and directed by Wisconsin native Nathan Deming, and it'll be making its Milwaukee premiere this weekend at the Oriental Theater. Ahead of that, he joins me now to share more about the film. Nathan, welcome to Lake Effect. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start with how the film came about. Tell me why you wanted to center it around palliative care.
Yeah, Winter Hymns is a unique movie. It takes place all in one room, a palliative care office at a hospital. If you don't know what that is, I didn't either. Palliative care means care without a cure, and I found out what that was because my dad started doing it in Eau Claire in the early 2010s. And at first, I didn't want to know anything more about it. It's really tough what people in that office are going through. But I found through my dad what a lot of palliative care and hospice workers say about their job, which is like they actually love it because you get to help people at their lowest moments. And then as a filmmaker, I got really interested in, because like I'm really interested in kind of capturing Wisconsin on screen in general. And then I just thought, man, what an interesting place to set a movie. You know, everybody in that room is going through the worst moments of their lives with their family members. What a pressure cooker to put people in. And so from there, yeah, I just got going. And I was really surprised even at the beginning, like how interested people were in the topic.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, the film is over the course of one day, one room for a character named Dr. Linda Vobernick as she interacts with different patients and their families, all navigating different aspects of end-of-life care. What were the challenges this presented as a filmmaker, and why did you want to like lean into this when we don't see many formats like this, especially for a long feature?
So I wrote it 7 years ago and kind of came on and off the shelf a couple times. And then when the film incentives passed last year in Wisconsin, I got kind of another opportunity to make it because I met so many filmmakers here. And then it became a chance to like showcase how much acting talent I really believe is in this state. And yeah, one room sounds like a limitation, but actually it became really thrilling. There's this Canadian film I really like called The Decline of the American Empire, where they make some offhanded joke about there's only two topics that can sustain a movie, which is like sex and death. And my movie's about death. And so I thought I'd put that to the test. And it was like fascinating because it really did. I mean, yeah, it's a longer movie, but that also just came about because the performances were really strong. And then when we premiered at the Wisconsin Film Festival in April, I was already really excited that nearly everybody came up being like, that did not feel like a long movie. Like it just went like that. And I think it's because of the intensity of what you're seeing on screen. You know, you're seeing a young guy with stomach cancer. You're seeing a 92-year-old process what my dad calls the dwindles at that age. And then you're watching other people who are, you know, a farmer who's in denial of his lung cancer and losing his farm and all these different things. I think it's inherently interesting, basically.
Yeah, and especially interesting is the lead. Dr. Linda Vobernick is played by Colleen Madden. And what an incredible person to like shepherd us through this topic, this whole setting. And considering the style of the film, there's a lot hanging on her shoulders for the role. So what qualities about her stood out to you that made you know she was the right person to be your lead and guide the audience through a pretty intense day in the life?
Yeah, well, I made this film because I was like, I'm not going to make it without Colleen Madden. So Colleen, if people don't know her, which you should if you go to theater in Wisconsin. She's been in the Milwaukee Rep several times. But she's a core member at APT, which just this month won a Tony Award.
American Players Theater.
American Players Theater. And I grew up watching her. I love her. She's like so good. And I also grew up watching Sarah Day, who's in the film as well. She just retired from APT. Colleen has such an amazing presence that I think was really important. And if you guys see the film, you'll see that, I mean, a lot of what she's doing, she's not even always talking or even emoting, but she has to be this perfect sounding board for what these characters are going through. And I thought, Colleen's who I want to take me through that process. I've had so many people tell me, I want her to be my doctor.
Yes.
I'm like, well,
we don't get the choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're fortunate if you get someone like her.
Yeah. And no, so Colleen is so talented, and I think it's just amazing what she does with that character. Just showing up for people. I mean, a lot of the performances in her eyes too, you know. But besides her, I mean, I wanted to showcase Wisconsin acting talent, and I think I was going to make this movie no matter what, but I was blown away by the types of people here. I mean, Flora Coker, who was a part of Theater X in Milwaukee, she plays the aging woman with dementia, and I think repeatedly I've heard some of people's favorite performance in the movie. Then also some people who had never acted before, like Peggy Trojan, who's a poet from the Northwoods of Wisconsin. She plays the 92-year-old, and she is 92, making her acting debut. And then this young man named Thaddeus Sikora, who is a real-life dairy farmer, never acted before. And then he plays the young lineman who has stomach cancer, and like he actually came and milked cows the day of filming, even though I told him not to. And showed up and then delivered, like you saw it, like a 4-minute monologue, it was crazy.
With all of these different patients and casting them, they all have different scenarios. Some are just alone, some have volatile family dynamics. When it came to casting, was it just a general call, or were you kind of seeing people and then matching the storylines to go with kind of their presence in the room?
I had written these characters 7 years ago, and they kind of evolved over time. But then it really was, like a matching game of like finding somebody I really liked. It like came to life, as I found each person. And then other ones like happy accidents, like Chike Johnson is really good friends with Colleen Madden and was also a part of American Players Theater. He's in the Goodman Theater in Chicago. And I wasn't familiar with him, but then once I met him and saw him, I was like, this is an incredible actor. I just need to find a way for him to be in the film. So he plays the priest at the end of the film.
Yes,
and
incredible.
He's really good.
And I mean, there's a shared intimacy just by the nature of the movie and the setting and the people. So what were some of the behind the scenes conversations like or rehearsals and setup when it came to this film, the whole concept of it? Were all the actors ready to dive into such a meaty topic that usually we all avoid, which is about death?
It's been really interesting even since, the rehearsal process, like how people have responded to this, because I thought, I don't know if people will go for this, but then even in the casting, this is not usual. People, before their audition was over, like they wanted to tell me a personal story. They wanted to tell me, by the way, my mother went through palliative care. My aunt went through hospice. Like, even though it's a grim topic, I think what people have been responding to about it is you're not alone. We all go through this. We all carry grief. We're all going to end up in this room, whether we like it or not. And if we're lucky, we'll end up in this room. Some people don't get time to process their death or the death of their loved ones. I know Thaddeus's own dad went through stomach cancer and thankfully survived, but I didn't know that when I cast him with stomach cancer. And then he gave this, I didn't even know it until he did his performance. And then I realized kind of the deep well of pain that he was drawing on. So it's been already like a really special thing to connect with people. Colleen's spoken about this, but her own dad died when she was pretty young. And that experience has been something that shaped her entire adult life and that she was able to tap into for this movie. And it's been really interesting. People will everywhere I've seen it in Wisconsin and elsewhere, people will linger in the lobby for 20 or 30 minutes afterwards, which you don't see a lot with a movie. I think it's just clearly resonating. And hopefully it's what I've done. Hopefully it's I think it's clearly what the actors have done, but also it's just the topic. This movie really tries to be a naked look at death, mortality, the hospital system, all these really difficult issues, whether through the lens of faith or philosophy. However, everybody in the movie is dealing with their death differently. And I think that's why people are talking about it, for so long, because there's so much we have to process too, and we just don't get a chance to do that really.
Well, one scene in particular with the character Alice and her reluctance to go through her directives as her homework outside of the office, and then it's a step-by-step through the language. It made me think about not many people are going to know about this until it's time to do it. So it's also kind of educational in that when are you thinking about this, or, if you have aging people in your lives or things happen at all ages with sickness, but it's a crucial time to have conversations and to be prepared versus going through this. Not that anyone's prepared for it, but to have these conversations with other people in your lives, especially after seeing this, it's well, what do you want? What's important to you?
Yeah, there's the healthcare side, which is also a theme of the movie. And then that ignorance spreads even into the hospital, which you see in a couple scenes, that there's other departments in the hospital that don't clearly understand what palliative care does.
The whole bureaucracy of death was a whole theme to there.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting. I mean, if people sign their advance directives because of this movie, that's cool. But also, I think what's so interesting about this room and what makes me want to make a movie about it rather than just a PSA is the relationships you have going into that room. You say things that you're never going to get the chance to say again, or, sisters are reconnecting with brothers. It's the most intense pressure cooker a family can ever go through. And I'll let people go see the movie to see what I think about that. But I think it does make you think that there are some enduring things across all faiths, across all philosophies that are the most important things in our lives, which, I'll let you go see what I think that is when you see the movie. But yeah.
Yeah, and I would second that and recommend it. And outside of the themes and the conversations this film can inspire, there's another core mission to this film being made in Wisconsin by Wisconsinites. You are from Toma, but you've been based in LA for a while. So why was this important for you to accomplish, to come back home and do this?
Well, I have my ongoing year series I'm doing. I'm making a movie for every month of the year. No matter what I'm doing, I also want to be making movies in Wisconsin. I love Wisconsin. I love Wisconsin people. I don't love how most people who get to make movies about Wisconsin are not from here, and so it's kind of like an outsider view looking in. And one thing I've been proud of on my other movies, like February has this ice fisherman character that people across the state were like, oh, we know that guy. That guy lives down the street from me. I really want to try to put up an authentic version of Wisconsin that I know and understand, and hopefully the viewers will too, because I think culture is really important. And sometimes in the media and in film, we just get reduced to like beer, cheese, and the Packers, and those are all great things. I'm not no shade to those things, but obviously we're also just normal people going through normal lives. And I tried really hard to make it a very Wisconsin-specific movie, because yeah, you could have set this anywhere. You could have put it in New York or LA, but I wanted a farmer reflecting on, it's not just about his death. It's also about a death of a lifestyle in his scene, like the number of family farms that have disappeared over the past 40 years. I wanted to put a woman that reminded me of every English teacher I had in Toma High School, So I think when you write from specificity, it's always more interesting. And I think, too, that's why people have been responding to it.
Yeah, it lands hard. It feels Midwestern. I can, as someone who's born and raised here, it's like, yeah, like down to that character's sweater and turtleneck.
Right, right. Yeah, yes, we tried really hard to get those details right.
Yeah. No, I clocked them. They were great. And, with the film tackling a not so small concept of how we categorize our existence, how we, either adhere or reject to this in our final stages of life, right? There's a lot to unpack here. But what kind of conversations, not just about death, but living, do you hope this film inspires? What kind of conversations have you been having?
At our premiere, somebody raised their hand because Colleen and I did a Q&A afterwards, and they said, "What are your thoughts on death?" And I wanted to laugh and say, "You just watched like 2 hours of what I think about death." So I think the film for me was processing all of it. Obviously, we all have our own unique relationship with it. I think thinking about it's important, and you can go back thousands of years and find that advice. If we think about our mortality, it informs what we're doing. For me personally, besides making the film, which it's like been so much fun connecting with people over it, but also it catches me, right, what I'm doing. Maybe I won't spend that much time on my phone. Maybe, it gets you thinking about, right, time is passing. These issues are going to affect you. What do you want your life to look like? What do you want it to be? And what are the most important things? Because especially right now, I think there's so many distractions in modern life, and there's also so many kind of contentious issues driving us apart. It's really interesting to think about what unites us, and clearly mortality is going to affect all of us. And that was one big takeaway I had from my research when I started looking into it, was that it's kind of like two things that happen during this, which is families either come together or they split apart. So I guess the question is, what do you want to be? So I'm trying to hold that in myself too, to think about that and think about that every day and try to take things as they come. Try to roll with everything and try to see the beauty in it because of what death means to us.
Well, the film certainly lingers long after the runtime. And Nathan, I just want to say congratulations and thanks for coming in to share more about Winter Hymns.
Thanks so much for having me.
Nathan Deming is the writer and director of the film Winter Hymns. It'll be making its Milwaukee premiere at the Oriental Theater this Saturday, June 20th at 3 p.m. Denning will be in attendance along with some of the cast members for a Q&A following the screening. You can find more information at wuwm.com. We'll take one last break and then return with some Summerfest recommendations from our friends at 88.9 Radio Milwaukee. Keep listening to Lake Effect on WUWM. This is Lake Effect on 89.7 WUWM. I'm Audrey Nowakowski. Milwaukee is known for its summer festivals, but none is anticipated as the big gig. Crowds will flock to the lakefront as Summerfest gets underway tomorrow. To help you plan your first weekend of Summerfest, our friends at Radio Milwaukee are here to share their recommendations. They'll be joining us throughout the run of the festival to talk about the music and what sets Summerfest apart from other music festivals. Carol Ann Grzybowski and Anthony Foster join me now in studio. Anthony and Carol Ann, welcome to Lake Effect. It's great to have you guys here today.
Yes.
So happy to be here.
Super excited.
Yay.
Yes, indeed.
The radios are coming together.
For
Yes.
sure. Thank you for having us. Very, very dope.
Crossing
Very excited.
waves.
Yes. It's an honor for real to be
Yeah,
here.
it is.
No, so happy to have you here. We're here today to go over the best time of Milwaukee Summerfest.
The big gig.
Yeah, the big gig. And especially with you guys and your work and your music coverage, you're the best people to talk to for what people should keep an eye out for and what
agree.
you're most
Thank
looking
you.
forward to.
I like this. I agree.
Yeah.
Mr. Biz?
Yes. So, and Anthony, let's start with you.
Yes. Let's.
What are you looking forward to? What are your show recommendations?
Wow. Well, I mean, I really had to narrow this list down, but I'm really excited about Charlie Wilson. Charlie Wilson is a member of the Gap Band and had like several different careers, came around in the late 70s, early 80s with his family. Big records, records that's all part of our DNA that we all love, but had a more of a resurgence with a lot of hip-hop artists, worked with Snoop Dogg and Pharrell and a lot of those artists too, but has just like an incredible litany of hits. And I mean, my mom, put me on to Charlie Wilson, and he's still out here, still looking good, still a great singer, great voice, great performer.
Baby, you dropped the bomb on me. But you turn me on. You dropped the bomb on me. Baby, you dropped the bomb on me.
And that's happening on Thursday, opening night, which is always a big deal at Summerfest. And the next night, Don Toliver, who is like one of the big kings of hip hop right now, one of these kind of guys that has like 18,000 people just jumping, phones in the air, like just frenetic energy. He's got a dope album out, Octane, right now. And I do believe this is his first time performing at Summerfest. And Tyrese is going to be there as well. And a lot of people don't know that Tyrese is a singer. We know him from Fast and the Furious, but he has a great catalog and a wild guy, got a lot of viral moments, you know what I mean? So it's really dope that he's coming to Summerfest. So I'm really, really excited about is the Family Stone Band. I mean,
let's get into it. What
Yes.
makes this one of the things you're most excited about?
So, I mean, I grew up on Sly and the Family Stone, and I mean, they are huge, probably one of the most influential bands ever. A multicultural band in the 70s. I mean, extremely funky. Of course, Sly Stone passed away in 2025. Rest in peace to the legend. But Questlove, the drummer from The Roots, did a documentary about them, so a lot of people got reacquainted with them there. But I mean, they are probably one of the most sampled, got a lot of the most recognizable records ever. But it's a different iteration now, so they have, I believe, one of the original members is part of this, but Sly Stone's daughter is the one that's leading the band. Her name is Funny, which tells you about how, San Francisco in the 70s, you know what I mean? You can take that however, but she's leading the band, and I mean, Sly and the Family Stone has so many hits. And I was telling both of y'all off before we got into this that I saw them back in 2010, and my oldest daughter was grooving. That was like the first time I ever seen her like really grooving without me telling her this is dope. Like she was really into it. So it's like they have a real special place in my heart there. And I mean, it's one of the biggest party. They got endless hits. So I'm really looking forward to that one. And that's on June 19th. And June 19th is obviously a big day, Juneteenth Day, and a lot of great artists performing that day. So it should be like, one of those, which show do I go to? You know what I mean? Trying to run around with your beer from one stage to the other to see it. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a long time since I saw him. And again, with Sly Stone, the namesake of the band passing away last year. It's a real nostalgic and a sentimental thing. So I'm really excited about that one.
For sure. And then we have one more day. We're kind of doing this week by week for people listening. So a few shows on June 20th you recommend.
Yeah, so these are all, they're super popular, great acts, but kind of guilty pleasures for me. The legend, David Lee Roth, is going to be there. I mean, still looking good. He's got to be about 70 years old. He don't got the long hair anymore, but, we know him from being with Van Halen, and he had an amazing solo, still has an amazing solo career. And I don't know when the last time he's been to Summerfest, but I'm looking at Saturday, June 20th is the night that all of the older people, the OGs, will be out because it's a lot of music that's catering to them, and David Lee Roth is one of them. Mm-hmm. Also on June 20th, Don Felder, who is a legendary guitarist. He's a former member of the Eagles, and we all love Eagles records. And he wrote the music for Hotel California, which is arguably one of the most top 10, most recognized, greatest songs of all time. You know what I'm saying? And he left the Eagles, but he's still a world-renowned guitarist. Really looking forward to that because he's right before Christopher Cross, who is the king of yacht rock. It's an excellent documentary about yacht rock out right now. And Christopher Cross is a legend. He's got some great hits, Sailing, everybody loves. And it's going to be a great, great night for us people that's a little long in the tooth. And I mean, it's dope to see these artists still being able to perform at festivals and still being able to do their art for us here in Milwaukee.
Yeah, 100% agree. Mm-hmm. And Carol Ann, we'll turn it to you for some of your favorites coming up this first weekend of Summerfest, starting with Passion Pit.
Yeah, so a little bit of a nostalgia pick for me. Passion Pit came to Summerfest literally 10 years ago, almost to the date. And I think I was in high school at the time, and it was thunderstorms, raining. I honestly don't know how they got away with playing, but it was super, super fun. And I feel like they just make music that is meant to evoke the young, wild, and free feeling. So, having aged 10 years, I'm excited to relive that.
Feel wild and free and young.
Yes, I need to feel YOLO.
OG over here.
Yeah, but no, so that's going to be really fun. And honestly, I feel like even still, they're synth poppy, indie sleaze music. I still love it.
Awesome.
And then Echo and the Bunnymen, I think it's crazy that they're playing Summerfest. Also the first weekend, just British post-punk icons. So that's going to be an insane show. And then Father John Misty is coming.
The legend.
Yeah, he's just, OG crooner. And he's one of the saddest boys in the biz. And I feel like that's a lot of fun. He does have new music out, and his latest album was really incredible. Some of those songs live, I can't even imagine how cool it's going to be. Some 9-minute songs, so we'll see if he has got a live cut down version. But anyway.
Yeah, and I also so many of these stages are out in the open, and I would love to be just walking by to be here's Father John Misty's crowd.
Yes!
Very subdued. And then not even 50 feet away. It's a totally different vibe.
Yeah. So that's the problem. I think a lot of my favorite bands, the crowds are it's a lot of 30-year-old guys with baseball hats, which is always shocking to me, but that's okay. So yeah, gonna be an interesting crowd. And then the crowd for Amyl and the Sniffers, which is actually the same day. They go on an hour after Father John Misty starts. Let me just add that. But yeah, that's they are crazy performers. Up for a Grammy this last year and just really leading the way in some femme-led punk. Exciting for that.
If someone's intrigued and not quite familiar, where would you recommend people start?
Well, there's a song, I don't know if the title is this, but it's Teeny Tiny Bikini. And she essentially sings about wearing a bikini. which I do think is exciting because
Very in depth, very mystical, right?
very mystical and like on the nose. But I honestly think one of the strengths of the band is that she's like so genuine in what she sings about, and a lot of it is like almost protest in the way of like her just saying whatever she wants to, and like honestly, I could write an essay about bikinis. There's a lot to unpack there. And her, like, honestly, like, her onstage outfits are incredible. Like, the design, it's just so cool. So I would wait for that one.
Yeah, people will see you at that show for sure. And we have a couple of local musician shout-outs as well on your list.
So Maximiano, who if you haven't seen live, like if you've been waiting to see Maximiano, really excited that they're playing Summerfest. That's June 18th. And they're just like a beautiful songwriter, super genuine, super honest, and they've had relatively new music out as well. And then Emmett James, who is an incredible individual, an incredible artist,
super creative.
Yes,
really connected to the city.
Yes,
beyond his music, like really organic, just like a real one-on-one. You know?
Yeah, that's so true. Like just like incredibly unique in how he thinks about things, and then how he like ties in the community to his work and his music. So really excited that he's playing Summerfest this year as well.
Awesome.
Well deserved. Well deserved.
Yeah.
For real.
Absolutely. Now, Summerfest has a multitude of experiences, not all centered around music, right? So we're going to have a fun little non-music Summerfest thing. I don't know if it's, warnings from you guys or things recommended, but...
Okay, yes.
Yeah,
I've got a lot to unpack.
Let's fire it off. Anthony, what's one thing that's not music related with Summerfest that either you're looking forward to or a word of warning?
It's a lot of drinking, obviously, going on at Summerfest, but the food choices... I've been going to Summerfest many, many years, more years than I want to admit. I might really show my age, but that's cool. But I really love the food. I mean, a lot of food options. It's always great. I always have to get the Saz's sampler platter.
That's right.
My daughter, she does it too. Nothing goes better with music than a nice drink with some mozzarella sticks, eggplant fries, onion ring. I mean, and the smell, it's real nostalgic, and it really helps to absorb whatever you're drinking. You know what I mean?
Bring the lactate, though, guys.
For sure,
Come
for sure.
prepared.
Yeah.
Well, that relates to your thing about bathrooms being a group experience.
Crazy segue. Love that.
That was right. Hey, professional.
This is what public radio's about.
Yes,
indeed.
Yeah.
Honest. So two things. First of all, I have bathrooms, a group experience. So the bathrooms at Summerfest, almost like large like cattle stalls, which is awesome. You fit a lot of people in there. But I truly believe that like these relationships are formed in the bathrooms, at least in the ladies' room. That's all I can speak to. Yeah. But these stalls, it's almost like they're pretty short. So like you can see a lot of the leg area. And then also like bathrooms are clean, but like frequent that you might need some TP. Mm-hmm. So you're like asking next to you. Yeah, a lot of traffic. So you're asking next to you, hey, you got some TP.
What's going on over
and
there?
Then,
help me out.
Yeah, you like form these relationships. You walk over to your like show and boom, bestie in the crowd next to you.
I remember you from the bathroom.
I also want to mention footwear, if I may. So it boggles my mind how many people are walking around with flip-flops. Where's the arch support,
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of flat-bottom shoes, and I just feel like this year it might have to be like Hoka's, might have to be like a thick, comforting shoe. And I think Summerfest, as opposed to some other festivals, like people aren't usually going for the high heel game, but I will say, I'm going to be looking at the footwear this year who's compromising comfort for style, because it's not going to end well.
It's never the good choice.
No, making it now like one length of the festival is difficult for me.
You get your steps in for sure.
Yeah.
I'm always baffled when I see women in heels. I mean, I understand. I mean, I respect it. You know what I mean?
Me
I
too.
respect it, but it's like this might not be the place. But and then by the end of the night, you see people walking carrying the heels.
Ooh,
bro,
I don't want to be barefoot at Summerfest. I'm
You'll
gonna
have to add that to your tally.
Yeah.
Flip-flops, Hokas, and barefoot.
No. Yeah, nightmare.
Well, we gave a lot of recommendations. a lot of good lists to see.
Y'all are prepped, so you're welcome.
First
Prep
weekend,
for the
you
first
locked.
weekend.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's going to be great. And the new format, I think, works really well for people coming from out of town, summer is always outrageous here. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yes, and so it begins. I really appreciate you, Anthony and Carol Ann, coming in today to share your recs, and thanks so much for being on Lake Effect.
Thank you for having us.
This is such a treat.
Yes,
I appreciate it.
For real.
Carol Ann Grisbowski is a DJ with Radio Milwaukee, and Anthony Foster is Hyphen's music director. They joined me to share their recommendations for the first weekend of Summerfest. Make sure to check back in next Wednesday for more recommendations for week 2 of the festival.
Well, it's not far down to paradise. At least it's not foaming. And if the wind is right, you can sail away and find tranquility.
And that Summerfest preview wraps up today's show. I'm Audrey Nowakowski. If you've missed any of Lake Effect this week, you can find all of our conversations at WUWM.com. If you'd like to take us on the go, download the Lake Effect podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. Tomorrow on Lake Effect, we'll continue our celebration of 10 years of Bubbler Talk. We'll listen back to a favorite story from environmental reporter Susan Bentz and talk to her about how it all came together. Thank you so much for joining us today, right here on listener-supported 89.7 WUWM, Milwaukee's NPR.